Let's talk about Hawks. We have a lot of really, really cool and hype characters coming out in Jetburn, but most of them are second, third, fourth versions of that character. We've already had them in the game, like Shoto, Bakugo, Midoriya, Endeavor, for example. But Hawks, this is his first version. He's one of the most hyped characters to be entering. I've been very, very excited for this character ever since I started playing this game over a year ago. And I think he's going to pretty much carry the entire set. And it all depends on Hawk. So the design team, there's a lot of pressure to have this character be fun and have this character be very, very strong. And before I read these cards and talk about them together, I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I think this character is A+. I think they knocked it out of the park with Hawks. This character looks insanely fun to play. He looks difficult to play, but in like fun ways. And he looks to me to be the strongest character in the set. I think they knocked it out of the park. I don't think he's going to be like oppressive or anything to play against. He's not going to be like, dominating the meta, but I still think he's going to be A+ tier and a lot of players are going to be playing him. I think he could very easily be top 10 in the game. So Hawks, 6-hander, 27 health, but he's not really a 6-hander because he gets this static. At the start of your combat phase, add up to 2 copies of Hawk's Feather from your discard pile to your hand. That's why I have Hawk's Feather next to Hawk's here, is because you really can't. If you're playing Hawks, you're playing 4 copies of Hawk's Feather. They just go together. And Hawk's Feather really is never going to be played by anybody else. Because of this, Hawks Enhance, this attack gets +2 damage. Nobody else probably wants a 1 diff, 1 mid 1, but a lot of people would play 1 diff, 1 mid 3, so they made that Hawks only so that, it's very, very clear that this is Hawks' attack and not really anybody else's. And then he gets Enhance once per turn. Change the attack zone to high. You may switch its speed and damage. Usable on offense and on defense. So on defense, if you play a Hawk's Feather, it gets -3 speed. Right there, you just switch it, and then you can always respond. After an attack speed is modified, it gets +1 or -1 speed. So Hawk's Feather doesn't really say +2 or -3. It really says +3 or -4. And -4 speed is huge. So you switch someone, you give an attack -4 speed and then make that its damage, and you're just basically getting to zero out an attack. You're like Mirio, right? You're like 8-hand, except an 8-hand size instead of 6-hand size. You get to zero out something on your opponent's turn. Like you get to zero out Electric Jolt, for example, and not let them get it into their momentum. You can also use this on offense, make something super, super fast. If they're committed out and they can't block, go ahead and switch it and just hit them with a massive lethal attack at the end. So this character is basically a soft 8-hander. You have to have 2 copies of Hawk's Feather in your discard. That's not going to be too hard. It is going to be interesting what deck size people end up playing because you don't really want to cycle and lose your Hawk's Feathers in the discard, but you also still want to see the Hawk's Feathers in your discard pretty quickly. I suppose even if you cycle, as long as you keep a Hawk's Feather in your hand, then you can review it out on your turn, draw up to 6, and then add the feather to your hand. So even if you cycle, you're at worst a 7-hander, as long as you kept a Hawk's Feather behind. It's like, it's very similar to Eraserhead with Erase. As long as you kind of kept an Erase behind, then you can always just put it in your discard. So he works kind of similar in that regard, and Hawk's Feather cannot be removed, unlike Erase. It's going to go to the bottom of your deck. Now, then again, it's going to be the card that you check, and then you'll have to cycle, and then it won't be in your discard. So it's going to be a long time until you see it again, but it can't be removed. And then we get Hawk's Feather. Add this card to your card pool. This attack gets +2 or -3 speed. So you're an 8-hander, but if you're using Hawk's Feather to give speed, then you're increasing your progressive difficulty in the future. Or if you're using it to minus speed, then you're increasing your progressive difficulty on your blocks. So it does come at the cost. It's going to take a very, very high skill level to play this character, to know when to play your Hawk's Feathers as attacks, to know when to block with them, or to know when to play them from your hand for plus or minus speed. This character, that's what makes this character so fun, is because he's not going to be a character that anybody can pick up and just do well. Like Jiro, for example. Just yesterday, I've never really played Jiro before. Yesterday, I was play testing for Nationals with my brother. I picked up a Cannon Blast Jiro list that topped Wesley Bittner's list, that topped Nara Lee, and played it against my brother. And I felt like I got the hang of the deck pretty much in just a few games. It was the combos are pretty simple. I'm sure to a new player, maybe not, but to an experienced player, you can pick it up and get it pretty quickly. But Hawks is not going to be that way. He's going to take a lot of practice, and he's going to be very, very skill intensive. That's what makes him so exciting. And that switching the speed and damage and changing something to high, so you always, you can always keep a high block and have something ready to block, or you can just zero it out, use it on offense. There's so many different ways that this character can be used. Absolutely an A+. Maybe I'm letting my happiness about the design affect my score on the strength, but this is the character that I'm going to be playing a ton of. Although I haven't actually played any practice games yet because I've just been focusing on nationals. Okay, so let's look at his first attack. Feather Rush, 3 high 5, 4 diff. If there are exactly 4 other cards in your card pool, this card ignores progressive difficulty. That's pretty neat. So, if you play this as your 5th card, and that won't be hard to do if you're playing Hawk's Feathers, then you're playing it on a 4 diff, and that can be used by anybody. So it's kind of similar to Alleyway Ambush, where it's really not a very good attack, but then when you have a character like Toga 1, she can kind of really use that to just finish off her opponent and play this huge attack string early. Although, it's exactly 4 other cards, so you can't just chain Feather Rushes like you can Alleyway Ambushes. It also gets EX2. And then Enhance, if there's a copy of Hawk's Feather in your card pool, draw 1 card. So this is very, very Hawks specific. I'm going to give it a B-. I don't think any other characters would use this. Maybe I should have put a C. Most of this, in Hawks, you're going to be playing this card. In Hawks, I would say B+. Maybe it still doesn't quite make the list. But you can see the appeal. 3 high 5 that draws a card. That's pretty good for a 4 diff. But in other characters you're definitely not playing, I should have not have put this as B-. I should have put it as C+. Because when I'm grading these cards, I'm thinking about everybody in the game and not just Hawks. And unfortunately, most of Hawks' kit is very, very Hawks-only specific. It's kind of similar to Bakugo 4, where I love his kit for Bakugo 4, and I actually think Bakugo 4 is quite strong, but his kit is pretty much unusable by anybody else. That's kind of like Hawks' kit here. I probably should have put this as a C+, but it's a very neat idea. I think Alleyway Ambush is a really fun card. I wish it wasn't only set to characters, and then because of that, you're pretty much only Toga and maybe Ibarra would ever play it, for Alleyway Ambush at least. And then we get Feather Storm, ultra rare attack, 5 diff, 4 high 6, card pool, your attack gets +1 speed. To me, okay, so Tongue Whip is basically a 5 low 5 that gives 1 speed to all your attacks because you got to stuff their card pool. Here we have a 4 mid 6, that's the same level of stats as a 5 low 5. But it gets, I guess it would be a 5 high 6, right? 5 high 6, because you're giving a speed to this one as well. So a 5 high 6 that gives a speed to everything. Basically, to me, this is 5 difficulty Tongue Whip. And 5 difficulty Tongue Whip is still good. And it gets this Hawks Enhance. Your card's named, I guess it's an enhance for anybody, but practical matter is Hawks. Your cards named Hawk's Feather do not count towards progressive difficulty this turn. So it's similar to, that Tokoyami card, Dark Shadow Ruin, for Summon Dark Shadow. Except Summon Dark Shadow is much more usable by other characters than Hawk's Feather is. So for everybody else, it also has powerful too, just add it on. For everybody else in the game, I'm going to say B+. A 5 diff Tongue Whip is still very, very strong. And it has powerful too when you need it. Although most of the time you're using this as your string starter, so you're probably not going to be applying damage because it's, your starter attack is typically blocked. You're just trying to use it to set up the future. And you're using it to set up the future here by giving everything 1 speed. But your cards named Hawk's Feather do not count towards progressive difficulty. That's huge for Hawks. In Hawks, this is absolutely A tier, maybe even A+. You are definitely playing this card like crazy in Hawks. But in other characters, I can still actually see it finding play just for being a 5 diff Tongue Whip. All right, 4 diff, Feather Sword Slash, 4 low 4. Commit 1 foundation, search your deck or discard pile for 1 copy of Hawk's Feather and add it to your hand. So here we have a way to very, very quickly go grab your Hawk's Feathers. If you didn't have your 2 in your discard pile, you can go and grab another one. Or if you had 2, you can even go and grab a 3rd. Very, very neat. Enhance, discard 1 card. This attack is +3 damage. So pretty much for anybody not named Hawks, it's a 4 low 4, 1 high block that says discard 1 card, it gets +3 damage. Which is fine, but not great. But in Hawks, commit 1 to search your deck for a Hawk's Feather can be huge. Deadlock Enhance, add 1 card with 3 difficulty or less from your card pool to your hand. Okay, so most of the time, you're going to be grabbing your Hawk's Feather and adding it back to your hand, but it's usable by other people as well. I'll put this in the B tier. I could see it finding play outside of Hawks maybe just a tiny bit, Maybe I should have said B minus, but I would imagine you're at least playing a couple of these in Hawks just for the consistency of getting feathers early in the game. And you get to, the discard a card isn't a huge cost in Hawks when you're an 8-hander. And then we get his foundations. Number 2, Pro Hero. Pro Hero response, discard 1 momentum after your rival plays a non-character ability that commits or seals. Any number of foundations cancel it. I think it's really cool how much anti-seal abilities we're getting in this set. I think it's been like 2 or 3 cards now. We really haven't had anything. I suppose that's because Shoto 4 is coming out, and I think Shoto 4 is incredibly powerful, and he's just going to be sealing everything, so it's nice to have more anti-seal responses. And then Villain Enhance, lose 1 health, this attack gets -1 speed. I think that is very, very, very strong. And because it's repeatable. And losing 1 health is a lot better than taking the damage of the attack. And sometimes -1 speed is the difference maker. And then you get this anti-commit and anti-seal, but you do have to have momentum. I'm going to put it in the B- tier. Probably doesn't quite make it as a 2-diff. And the response and enhance are separated to where it's pretty much a Hawks only card, because this is a Pro Hero response. This is a villain enhance. Well, the only person who's going to be a Pro Hero and a villain is Hawks. I really don't see this finding play outside of them, but they're cool abilities in my opinion. And then 1-diff, Feather Control, 2 mid block. Remove, add 1 non-action card with a printed difficulty of 1 from your card pool to your hand. Deadlock Enhance, your attack with a printed difficulty of 3 or less gets +1 speed and +1 damage. Pretty much this is a Hawks only card. I don't think it's really usable by anybody else. I wish it didn't have to say non-action card. Then you could use it with like, what would be cool? Like Price for Peace, I guess, as the good symbol. Or, printed difficulty of 1. Maybe, I wish it said like printed difficulty of 2 or less. Then you could use it on the evil symbol with that overhaul card that says put it in your card pool, build the attack face down. Then you could, remove this and add that back to your hand. But printed difficulty of 1 or less, non-action card, they really gated this quite a bit. It's basically Hawks only. I think Hawks is definitely using it, but C tier for everybody else. All right, Relaxed Demeanor, 1-diff, 4 check, 3 low block, your turn, flip, search your deck for 1 attack and add it to your discard pile. So for Hawks, this is just a way, again, of grabbing Hawks feathers and making sure that you're an 8-hander very, very early. I'm not sure even if Hawks is even going to play this card because it is a 4-check. And you're probably just relying on seeing the Hawks feathers early. I'm not sure. I think this might actually take some... Well, it ups your consistency. I'm not sure it's worth running as a otherwise pretty blank foundation that checks a 4. There's some cool things that you could do. I guess on the evil symbol, you could use it with a Loving Father. Like if you played a Tongue Whip, then you can flip this, grab a Tongue Whip from your deck, put it at the top of your discard pile, and then use Loving Father to grab that Tongue Whip into your hand. But again, that's a 2-card combo. Or like on Good, you could use it with it's that 0-diff 3 low block that says if the card in your discard pile is the same as the attack, you can draw a card. Again, you're talking about a 2 foundation combo though, and it checks a 4. It's probably just a little too heavily costed, but I'll give it a C+ because I could see some cool combos happening with it. And then we have the last foundation, Take to the Sky. 2-diff, 2 high block, mill 2. After you block with this card, build it committed. All right, that's pretty neat. Flip, this low attack gets -2 damage. C tier. I don't think this is going to find play as a 2 difficulty foundation. It needed to be a little better. Something, man, like after you block with this card, commit 1 rival foundation and build it committed. Yeah, it's just missing something. Like it's neat, but I don't actually see it finding play at all. And that is going to do it for Hawks Kit. Again, most of Hawks' cards are very good in Hawks, but you're probably not playing them outside of Hawks. The only card I could really see finding play outside of Hawks is probably Featherstorm, just because, again, it's 5-diff Tongue Whip is what I'll call it. But it's hard to play 5-diff Tongue Whip when Jetburn just gave us another 4-diff Tongue Whip on other symbols. But I guess these are a new set of symbols. Now we have Tongue Whip on every symbol. How awesome. All right, that is going to do it for Hawks. I am very, very excited for this character. Most hype character in this set. and he's given the coolest design, and he's very, very strong. They nailed it. And let me just remind you that I am giving away a box of Jetburn. Make a Kami Utsushimi deck. Send it to me using the Google form in the description of this video. When I get 200 subscribers, I will be picking the best list in terms of viability and creativity and sending you a sealed box of Jetburn. And before I let you go, let me just tell you a little bit about my upcoming schedule for videos, because we have nationals coming up. Of course, this weekend we have Las Vegas RLE. Then the next weekend we have the I think Oceanic comes first, Oceanic Nationals, and then the UK Nationals, and then we have the US Nationals. So it's going to be a crazy 4 weeks of competitive play. And then, of course, we don't know about any competitive events in November or December or January until the HLC in February. So we're going to have this huge 3-month drought. It's looking like. I'm going to try and do some things on my end to, anyway, that's future announcements to come. But yeah, so we're going to have very, very busy 4 upcoming weeks. So here's what I'm going to do. Tomorrow, I'm going to be doing Inasa and the Lurkers and talking about their snap card grades. Then the next day, Saturday, I suppose, I'll be doing Ochako and Toga and doing the snap grades. Sunday, I will make a video discussing the results of the Vegas RLE. I'm not going to do a big bold predictions video for the RLE. The way I kind of think of this Vegas RLE is everybody's going to be testing for nationals. I really, really wanted to go. I looked at every option to get to Vegas this weekend. Just couldn't quite make it work. So I'm not going to be there, but I suppose that most people who are going to be there are just going to be testing out their decks for nationals. And so while the stakes don't feel that high, it is going to be very, very interesting to look at the results. So I'll analyze those results on Sunday. And then starting Monday of next week, I'm going to be doing a ton of nationals content. I'll be talking about the top 10 decks that you need to prepare for. I'll show you the lists that I am considering for my own nationals decks. I'll make some videos talking about like how to beat the best decks in the game. I'll just be pushing out a ton of nationals strategy content. And then the week after that, I'm pretty much going to be going dark for the 2 weeks before US Nationals, because I'm going to be spending at least 2 or 3 hours a day just doing play testing. And so I'm really not going to have the time to be put into content creation. I'm a player first, content creator second. I just make content because I think it's fun. I'm not looking to ever make money or have some mass following. I just love playing this game and I like talking about this game. So I will be doing, I'll be pretty much going dark. I'll make one video for each nationals, like the UK and Oceanic. I'll definitely make a video where I discuss the results and the implications that they have on the future nationals. Like for Oceanic, I'll talk about what that means for UK and US. And then the UK, I'll talk about what those 2 nationals mean for the US. So I will be making videos analyzing those, but pretty much I'm only going to make one video each week for those 2 weeks. So I'm going to be finishing out my card grades, talking about the Vegas RLE. Next week, pushing out a ton of nationals strategy content. And then you pretty much won't be hearing from me until after US Nationals. All right, well, that is going to do it for me. I'll see you tomorrow where I will be grading the cards for the Lurkers.